Louis, we've spoken. I've chewed your ear off already. But firstly, can I just welcome you to the clubhouse officially? As I say, we've got a couple of guys online watching, tasting as well. Thanks to the team at Frontier Wines, they've done us a good package there. So the guys have got some they're going to taste along with us tonight. This is kind of the first online tasting we've done. So I'm really excited it's with you and with Ernie Els Wines. I'll go on about it later on about why, but just for a bit of context for everybody listening and watching. And I've explained this, Louis, already. As Speakeasy, we're all about well-being, sport, looking after people, telling stories and being curious. And one of the things that I love to do is enjoy wine, but I love to hear a few stories about where it's come from. And it's really interesting and really exciting. And this is part of the wine tasting through sport experience. We'll find any excuse to talk about sport and wine. Some will say it's tenuous, but I think this is perfect, actually. So really, really welcome this evening. Thank you so much for your time. And I think we've got a few lovely wines to taste, as well as hearing a few stories.
Yes, you just say speak easy, and we're going to do something easy tonight.
Do you know what? Ridiculously, I hadn't even put that together. That is ludicrous. I don't know why I haven't thought about that, but I 100% will be using that in the future. Listen, Louis, over to you to start with. As I say, Speakeasy started by good friends sharing a few glasses of wine with some cool stories. But as head winemaker at Ernie Els Wines, just a little bit about you, if that's okay. Where did it all begin?
My name is Louis Strdyom. I'm the winemaker at Els Wines. I've been the winemaker here for about 20 years. So right from the maiden vintage 2000 was my first vintage, and it's been an amazing journey with Ernie on the slopes of the Helderberg Mountains. We're situated on Helderberg, which is situated halfway between Somerset West and Stellenbosch, on an amazing north-facing slope, where we get these lovely sunshine hours through the summer months. We in the middle of winter at the moment. July is for us July, August, the two coldest months, and like I said, we have had probably our wettest July since the 1930s, which has been challenging on these slopes, especially on the mountain slopes, where as soon as it gets a little bit damp and wet, it gets really slippery, and we struggle to get into the vineyards, and we're busy with pruning at the moment. So that is to take away all the summer growth, and then cut the 2-eye spurs, which we will then we'll start budding. Spring starts within about 2-3 weeks from now for us in early September, and then the season will get going, and then 2025 comes quickly. So we work with nature, and nature never waits for anybody. We seasons come and seasons go. Humans just keep up with the seasons, and for us as winemakers, we only get one opportunity a year to make great wine. We harvest during February and March. Is our 2 months where we pick mostly the Cabernet Sauvignon, which is our focus variety on the farm. And but that's only one opportunity here. If you look at the beer brewers and the whiskey guys, and they can distill during the course of the whole year, or they can brew according to the whole year. But we as winemakers only get one opportunity a year to make a great bottle of wine. So that's why you need to be really on it, and to make sure that the methodology that you use in the cellar is on point. We always say, when you if you start making wine, when you say, so you're about 25 years old after your studies, and you retire about 65, that's 40, and that means you only have 40 opportunities to make a great bottle of wine. That's all you got. So you must enjoy every minute, and never relax, and just keep working at it, because we're working with nature, and like Ernie always says, nature has a lot of say with, especially in golf. We one year when Ernie played on the open, we played in the afternoon field, and the wind came up, and it was the end of his tournament, and he was gone. And the same with us with working with nature and working with the vineyard, very easily we can lose a lot of crop, like we did in the 2024 vintage. We very much, and if we have a lot of rain during the summer season, we can get a lot of rot, so it would have a massive impact on the quality of the wine that you got. So you can have all the best expertise, all the best ethology in the cellar, but if you haven't got the pure raw fruit coming in with the quality that you expect to get, you deliver it out to the nature and the elements out there that delivers the wine at the end of the day. So so been making wine on the slopes of the Helderberg for more than 24 years now. It's my 24th vintage, which is just passed. I've seen a lot come and go. I've seen a lot of different weather patterns, but we all love to talk about the climate change and how that's affecting us. And I thought, is it real? Is it real? But I must say, the last 2-3 years, we've seen quite a lot of anomalies, but high rainfall over very short periods, cut-off lows, which bring a lot of wind during certain times of the year, especially our windy months, which is normally November, December. And then we got one big one in April this year. So it's been interesting, the challenges that we have working with nature. So
there's a number of things in there that I was going to ask, and you've nailed it already. One of them was, it's your winter at the moment, our summer, so it's beautiful here, although it's absolutely tipping down. So we've probably got a bit of your rain as well at the moment in the northern hemisphere, which is where the similarities probably start and stop. That's just wanted to pick up on that analogy there around sport and talking about Ernie and the elements, winemaking and golf in particular. There's a lot of patience. There's a lot of belief in yourself as well, around trusting your instincts and knowing when to make that decision. I just wanted to explore that a little bit more, because I know before we start tasting some of the wine, can you just explain that a little bit more? Because I really like that kind of similarity.
You're 100% correct, Simon. I think it's after when you've got, like, Ernie's been has been a professional golfer since the early 90s. And he's now playing on the Champions Tour and on the PGA, and he lives in Florida, in Jupiter, and he spends his most of his time there. Although he has a house in Cape Town, near on the Garden Route near Harold's Bay, where he comes and enjoys time. But it's that instinct that you get after doing something for a long time. It's like, this is the conditions, this is what the club I need to use, or this is the yeast I need to use in the cellar, because of specifically of a vintage, the weather, the patterns that you've seen, and you more or less get a good feel of what you need to do and how you need to obviously go about making a successful shot or making a successful wine in the cellar. And as as technology has changed, so in golf as well, and within wine, that us in the cellar, we need to look at technology that comes along and make wines that are relevant, for the consumer. Things wines change from a quality perspective, wine change from a style perspective, and we as winemakers need to understand that. And it's the same, even Ernie on golf course, they change the golf courses, they change the balls, they change the club, and then you need to adapt and understand what you're doing and make the best possible product or the result that you're looking for from a cellar perspective. So it's a real nice moving target all the time, which is great, because if life was monotonous, then how interesting would it be?
Absolutely, and it's certainly not monotonous when you're involved in winemaking, for sure, I bet. So let's get into it. We've got 2 wines to taste tonight, and I think we talked about the rosé being the first one that we're going to explore. Now,
yes.
I touched on this just before we start. I'm going to hand over to you because you are the main man. For those listening and watching, yes, sport. Yes, I love golf. Yes, I enjoy my wine. But 2018, my wife and I came on honeymoon to South Africa, had a brilliant time, and intended to spend half an hour, ended up 6 hours at the winery. It was just an incredible environment, experience. And I've got that image of you talking about the mountainsides and everything. I've got that on the terrace. And one of the things that we tried was the Cab Sauv Rosé, which was the first time I'd ever tried Cabernet Sauvignon, being from the Northern Hemisphere in the UK. It's Provence Rosé, really light, really easy to drink. that was kind of my experience. But thanks to you guys, I've got a new favourite now. So I'm really excited to kind of hear your thoughts on this particular.
Thank you. Rosé, I made wine for the 2 years in the south of France, in the Languedoc region, and you mentioned it now. I always say the guys in the south of France and in the Provence area, they drink or enjoy rosé for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 24/7. So they are really got to know rosé, and the traditional cultivars for rosé is actually Shiraz and Carignan and Grenache and Cinsault. But those are varieties that are well suited to Mediterranean climate, like we have in South Africa. Mediterranean climate meaning long, dry summers with cold, wet winters. But for us on the Helderberg, specifically Ernie Els, our focus variety is Cabernet Sauvignon. So I thought, what I need to make sure that our DNA is stamped out in all the wines we make, which is Cabernet Sauvignon. That's the golden thread that runs through all the wines that we make. So I said I'm going to definitely give Cabernet Sauvignon a go, which is not traditionally actually used for rosé. It's like I said, it's mostly Shiraz, Grenache, Carignan, those southern French varieties. And I was like tentative in the beginning, because am I going to get the right color? Because I think color is really important for a rosé. You're looking for this like salmony, onion skin, like we call it, color. So not this like deep ruby red raspberry type of color, but this like lovely this pinky color that you can actually see through. And that is what I was looking for. So what I did is, all the color for red grapes sit in the skins. So what you need to do, you need to separate the juice from the skins as soon as possible. So what we do, we take the whole clusters, the whole bunches, and we put them in the press. We press the juice out immediately, so that some of the cells do break off the skins, and that releases a little bit of color into the juice. And then we separate the juice immediately away from all the skins, so we don't get any tannins or any excessive color extraction. And then we will press that off into a stainless steel tank and settle that overnight, so we get rid of some of the solids. And then we do a lovely cold fermentation at about 12 to 13, 14 degrees Celsius. It normally lasts about 3 to 4 weeks. So it's a lovely cold that gives you a lovely bit of mouthfeel and a lovely richness on the palate. And then those typical, as you smell on the nose, those lovely like ruby, raspberry, cherry flavors that you get on the nose, and that's typical the rosé that comes from Cabernet Sauvignon. And something that we do that at the property that a lot of other properties do, we actually mature it for about 2 to 3 months in oak barrels, but old oak barrels. So what we're doing, we're looking for a little bit of development, a little bit of mouthfeel developing with the wine, and that gives you that lovely finish that when you taste the wine, soft and juicy, and just a beautiful finish to the end of the wine. So this wine, as you said, we've got a beautiful terrace on the property overlooking the whole of the valley of the Cape Winelands into the Cape Peninsula. And this wine, ice cold on a summery day. You don't need you don't need to have lunch with it. You can just sip away on the terrace as the sun sets over the Cape Peninsula, over Table Mountain, and really enjoy it. That's what this wine is all about, is to enjoying a glass of wine, relax with friends, easy does it. It's quite a low acidity, the acidity is only about 5.6 grams per liter. It's a little bit technical but what that acidity does makes it beautiful, gives you a nice Moorish feel to the style of this rosé. It's actually the top selling wine at the winery during summer, but you can see why. This thing is really ice cold, and just sitting and relaxing. Especially the students, they love to come and sit on the terrace and enjoy a glass of rosé and act like they're going to have money one day.
Don't we all? Don't we all pretend that? That's what I'm doing right now, to be honest. And it's the view's not quite as nice as the terrace, but similarly, until you mentioned that salmon color as well, that's really obvious now. Now you've talked about that, and I think so. In terms of the styles I like, I'm Shiraz, Cabernet Sauvignon. That's what I like. Something with a bit of punch, a bit heavier, a lot of character, and I think that's what appealed to me with this, again, just being a complete novice to this style. And it's a really, really interesting one. It's not something that you're going to throw down as the Brits tend to do and really just throw a few bottles down. You've got to enjoy it. And I think that's absolutely right. And to hear the kind of context and backstory to it is really interesting. What are
so
some
you
of the
can
challenges? Sorry,
Pardon, sorry.
apologies. Carry on. You carry
No,
on.
no.
You carry on.
Like I said, so it's for us probably in South Africa one of the biggest growing categories, rosé category. We used to have a very much a style of rosé in South Africa, which we had a lot of like RS meaning sugar, and quite a sweet drink. And I think with us being traveling much more internationally, a lot of the people in South Africa that they actually got introduced to a much more dry style, and it's really interesting to see how this is taken off. Everybody uses sort of like pink drinks is only for the ladies, but men can also do pink drinks. So it doesn't everything goes nowadays, Simon. It's anybody can be anything if nowadays. Doesn't have to you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. How, in terms of kind of popularity, as you say, it's getting more popular outside of South Africa. Where would you say this kind of style is really popular? Is the UK a big place
Okay,
for this style?
it's a big market for us, the UK. It's funny how and it's interesting. We've got the golf course in the Emirates, which is only one of Ernie's golf courses there in Dubai. It's amazing how much the rosé that they purchase from us as well, just from a golf course. But I think it's got to do with weather. It really suits a warm weather climate. This style of wine served really really cold, ice cold, and it just makes it a lovely freshness. Because it's sometimes difficult, when it's a real warm climate and you drinking these much richer, full-bodied red wines. It's not as compatible, especially during the day. And we've seen much more like you said, the warmer climates that are actually enjoying these type of styles, and that's why the Provence guys drink so much. I think rosé because they get enough heat during the summer months, and then their alcohols, about 10.5, 11%. This alcohol, let me just check on the back myself, is 13%. So we don't make it too high. It's between 12.5 and 13%, which is just nice for just giving a little bit of mouthfeel, because that's what alcohol does, gives you a little bit of mouthfeel. But it just obviously, but it gives you accessibility at this alcohol percentage. And for us, we from just alcohol is it's very it's quite a science. We from a viticulturist and a enologist means a winemaker. And you need to go to the vineyards, and what we will do, I will have a specific goal in my mind, the alcohol that I want to achieve. So then I will go and check the sugar probably every third or fourth day, taste the grapes. What is this grape tasting like? Then I've got like a refractometer, we call it. Then I can read the amount of sugar that's in the berry. And I know that for every belling sugar, I get 0.575 volume% alcohol. So then I can work it out. Say if I'm about 23 belling, I will have a potential alcohol of about 12.5 to 13. And then that's how you gauge where you actually want to pick. So you would actually have a preconceived idea in your mind at which alcohol you want to actually bring the wine. So with the white wines and the rosés, we normally definitely bring them in a little bit lower, because we're looking for more fresh fruit, a little bit more elegance in the style. Where with red wines, like you said, a little bit more robustness, a little bit more richness, a little bit more maturity, especially in the berry, which will give us the intensity that we're looking for from color and a flavor profile. So it's very interesting. So you must be awake, because if you get a little bit of a heat spike during
Yeah.
the summer months, like at 3-4 days above 35 degrees Celsius, and then you need to be on it, because then you need to move quickly, because it doesn't wait for you. You don't, when the lights go out, the grapes don't switch off. They keep working. So you need to make sure that you catch them at the right time.
Certainly keeps you on your toes, that's for sure. Just before we move on, you mentioned there you spent a bit of time down in the south of France, Languedoc-Roussillon area. Just take us back to the beginning for you around wine. How did you get into it? what was your kind of gateway wine, if you will? And was there a moment where you thought, oh, this is a bit of me, as they say?
So my family come very much from agricultural farming background. We were mostly in the Orange Free State, so that means it's grain farming and sheep farming. But I went to school in the Paarl area, so I was obviously exposed to the agricultural side, which is mostly focused around grape production and fruit production. And I thought, I just love the nature and the outdoors and working with plants. And that's where the love grew first, is actually, being a viticulturist, meaning a farmer of plants. But, as I got deeper into the study of understanding the plant and understanding what you need to make great a great fruit, actually, I need to understand how to put an added value to the great fruit that I'm producing. And that's when I started studying wine when I was at university. And at the beginning, you're not too sure, and the wine, and you're still a student, so wine is beer is probably more important ration during the daytime than wine. But as you start understanding wine, and as you start pulls you in, as you start tasting different flavors. Wine is not like a McDonald's hamburger, which supposed to taste the same in Shanghai or London. Wine is supposed to taste different from year to year, and that's what it does from the.
Just while you're drinking there, sorry, I just apologies. Give you a minute. That's fine. No, just to give you a second as well. Just want to pick up on that, because that's something. Look, I did a WSET level 2. Now all my pals were like, "Oh, you know everything about wine. You've done a course." And I said, "Well, the first thing I know is I know nothing about wine, because there is so much to learn." But there's like 2 or 3 things I've taken away from that course. One of them is, and that's because there's a story behind it. Everywhere is different. You just got a Cabernet Sauvignon grape, for example, will be different in Sonoma in California to Stellenbosch to Barossa Valley, and I think that's cool. That's what it's about. And one of the things I want to try and do with these sorts of tastings is kind of help people understand why they like what they like, and even if they like one grape from one region, they might not from another. So I just wanted to pick up on that whilst you topped up your glass there.
That's very, very true. For us, from a wine industry perspective, we actually got a very, very open industry. We in the Southern Hemisphere, we harvest between January, February, March, and in the Northern Hemisphere, it's normally September, August, September, October, depends where you are. And there's a lot of interchange for us Southern Hemisphere winemakers going to make wine in the Northern Hemisphere, such as France, Italy, Spain, and the Napa Valley. And as you said, I can go and make wine in Napa Valley and think I'm going to come back to South Africa and make the same wine. That's not possible. If I haven't got the raw fruit, I haven't got the conditions, I haven't got the terroir, I haven't got the clonal material that they've got, I can't. It's impossible for me to make the same wine. Even if I have all the knowledge, I do exactly what they do, I just can't, because we're working with different elements like terroir, which is the radiation, the sun, the elevation, the oceans that sit, it's like in Stellenbosch, the oceans, the Atlantic Ocean that sits around us 10 kilometers away, up in the mountains. It's completely different fruit profiles that we get. But even within Stellenbosch, we get different areas that they can't make the wine that I'm making. And that's the great thing about wine. It's never a recipe, because if it was a recipe, anybody could do it, anywhere, anytime. So a lot of people have tried to make synthetic wine, tried to make this, tried to make that, and no one's been successful to do that. And that's the real interesting thing about wine. So every bottle of wine that you open, even from the same winery, from one vintage to the next, is an experience, is a journey, and that is what you say through PCT to pick up that and that actually as your knowledge increases, the less you know, because of all the different regions, all the different varieties. From in Spain, so many different varieties. As even here, we as a very much a new world winemaking country. We first wines we made was obviously when the Europeans colonized that southern tip of Africa. The reason why they brought the vineyards here was actually to replenish the ships which came from Europe trade with the East. There was no Suez Canal then. Everybody used to come past the southern tip of Africa, and it was created specifically to replenish the ships. So we've been obviously making wine for the European market since 1850, when this country was officially colonized by the Dutch, and then the English, and then the Dutch, and then the English again. So it's been English, and we have a strong influence of the French Huguenots that came to South Africa. You were here, and the Franschhoek corner, which is Franschhoek, which is called the French corner. We still have most of the properties there are still, the names are French, Clermont-Verne and Chamonix, and all those properties in Franschhoek. They've all got French names, and we have a lot of still, people with surnames like Leroux and names like that are still living in those areas that come with descendants from the French Huguenots that brought the French expertise when they came over to when the Protestants got rid of them when they came down to the southern tip of Africa. So we have a rich wine history. We're actually the oldest New World winemaking country specifically because of that. The first things that I think about 3 years after the first people arrived, the first wine was made. So we've actually got that documented. So we've got the oldest documentation of wine made in the southern tip of Africa.
That's wild. So the oldest New World, so sort of 1650s. That is bonkers. Again, all that history does feed into the whole process, as you say, the terroir, what the land, where it's come from, and that's what I think is just fascinating. We've got before we move on to the major series, which is absolutely amazing. We've got a couple of questions here. I don't know if you can see them, but we've got two questions. One is, for easy summer drinking, why did you go for 13%?
Everybody likes a little bit of ice in their glass. So you can add a little of ice, and you can decide for yourself if you want to tone it down a little bit more. And it would probably just be under 13, so about 12.8%. The real alcohol on the wine. So it is a legitimate question. I think shouldn't be a little bit lower. It is something for me, I think, to look at. To see if we can get a little bit more lower, a little bit more thing. But the thing is, with Cabernet Sauvignon, it's in its DNA. It loves to be green. So I'm really worried about Cabernet Sauvignon. Picking it at too low sugars, meaning at like 11.5% alcohol, that you'll get a lot of green flavors, which is not that you don't get these lovely like raspberry, strawberry, cherry flavors like the wine has got now. So a little bit understanding the variety itself, and making sure that we get these beautiful ripe fruit flavors coming through on the one. Everything that you pick lower is greener. It's like, doesn't matter what it is, if it's an apple or a bunch of grapes. You're gonna have more of those green flavors, and I don't want that specifically. In white wines, it's really fine because you're actually looking like Sauvignon Blanc. You're looking for green flavors. You're looking for these you can say like green pepper, grassy, asparagus type of flavors, but that in a rosé or a red wine is definitely a no flavor profile, just from an experience perspective.
That everything you just said there, and the question leads into everything you've said around. You're constantly learning. Everything evolves. You think, yeah, that works. That makes sense. Well, actually, let's see what next year brings. And that's a fascinating response. The other one there we've got before we move on is, in terms of the grapes, or all the grapes, and if we just look at maybe the rosé, or perhaps it's both, are all the grapes from your Stellenbosch estate?
Yep, all the grapes are from the Stellenbosch estate. So we've got
Amazing.
45 hectares. It's 45 hectares of vineyards, which equates to about 300 to 350 tons per year, which we can take off the property. So normally we get about between 6 to 8 tons of grapes per hectare. And then you get about 600 to 700 liters per ton. So we can probably make about 50,000 cases by 6 on the property. And we actually we bottle all our wine, and everything gets sold that we produce on the farm through the different wines we make. So if you look at our our full range of wines. We have the Big Easy range, which is Ernie's nickname on the golf course. You know, the Americans gave him that name. Everybody loves to say, like Ernie's big, but it's got an easy swing. So that's where the name came from. And he's still, they love putting on Instagram. I see him. He's that easy swing that he's got is he doesn't push it. He doesn't force it at all. And that's Ernie, but that's in his nature as well. He's big and easy from a person perspective. People love to say when Ernie and in the 2000s, Ernie was, I think 2003, 2004 was probably won about 15 tournaments around the world, and that's probably his best 2 to 3 years. Then Tiger was also on full steam. That when Tiger came off the golf course, he went to the driving range and hit another 100 balls, and Ernie put his clubs in the boot and went over a few beers with the boys. But that's always how Ernie's been. He's always been a person to enjoy company, enjoy people, and when he comes to the winery, I always have to pack away all the merchandise, because everybody that wants a signature says, "Come fetch a cap and bring the cap here, and I'll sign it for you." And that's where Ernie's always been, and that's where this Big Easy range comes from. So stylistically, we actually try and make it as well in that style, like big and easy. So the Chenin Blanc that we make is like an easy, accessible style of Chenin Blanc. Same with the rosé, and we got a Big Easy Cabernet Sauvignon, which is a little bit more opulent than the major series Cabernet Sauvignon. We bring a little bit of Cinsault into that blend, and then we have the Big Easy Red, which is a lovely style of red wine, which is made in like a Rhone style with a bit of Grenache, Cinsault, Mourvèdre, Shiraz. So that's all that big but easy drinking with soft tannins. Then the two majors we have on the next level, which is a major series Cabernet Sauvignon and a major series Merlot. And then the top echelon that we've got is the Ernie Els signature, like a signature golf course. It's like Ernie's signature wine from the property. And those are the the 7 wines we make. So the bottom range is a Chenin Blanc, which is South Africa's most widely planted white variety. Then the rosé, and then a Big Easy Cabernet and a Big Easy Red. Then the two majors, a major Merlot and a major Cab, which we'll be tasting now, the major Cabernet Sauvignon. And then the pinnacle in our portfolio is the Ernie Els signature, which was the first one we made back in 2000, which is a Bordeaux blend, very much Medoc style, meaning it's Cabernet based, as well as the golden thread that runs through all our wines. 60% Cabernet Sauvignon, 25% Merlot, and then 5% each of Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, and Malbec. So it's the full 5 varieties from the left bank from Bordeaux that we make, and it's all grown on the property.
Unbelievable. I always knew Ernie and I had a lot in common, and I can throw my clubs in the car and have a few beers with the boys as well. That's like, but he's probably had a slightly better round than I have before that. And I love the story that the wine is made. That just, we're going to move on to this now, the major series, but the Big Easy Red, just before we do, that was kind of one of my gateway wines as well, if you will, in a sense. I just thought, whoa, this is. And again, before I had any sort of wine education, I thought, this is amazing. I don't know why it's amazing. I don't know why I love it. There's a lot going on here, but I just think that combination, the blend and everything that's gone into it was just incredible. So that's something for me. I always try, and if we've got pals around, or, we try to say to people, try something different. That's something that I try and just get people to have a little go at and see what they think. So, and then the other one is, of course, this little number.
Yeah, the 2020 vintage. So you're so lucky to have the 2020 vintage in the UK. The Manuel's that we're on 2022 already at the winery, but there's always a little bit of a lag with the wines that are out there in the marketplace. In the UK, if we look at the whole areas, is our second biggest wine market. We export to about 25 different countries. So 50% of the wine we make is exported around the world. Germany is our number one export market, and then UK, and then the US third. So we think it'll be a little bit higher, but it's interesting, the Americans don't know really where Africa is. They know where America is. That's more or less where it ends. So they drink their own wine. They don't buy a lot of. They know French wine, but they don't know African wine. So African wine seems a little bit third world for them from a wine perspective. So although Ernie, people also like to ask Americans like, who do you know from Africa? And I only know two people, more or less Nelson Mandela and Ernie Els, because he's on the
Yeah.
TV every weekend. He's on the TV
Yeah.
every weekend, and Ernie's like, he actually had a good season so far. He's won three tournaments, two on the Champions Tour, and he's actually just won his first senior major, which is really nice. I know he played in the Open, but I think he didn't make. I think he played on the first day, and then he was like, I think it was plus 10 or something, and like he hurt his back and said, now you're trying to run with the young boys, and now you're going to get hurt again. You must play with the seniors. Don't play with the young team. We all know even like the rugby players, you think you can, always in your mind, you're 21 always. You never get old. But anyway, so he played on the weekend on the Boeing, because Boeing is still one of his sponsors. So he plays and Breitling's one of his sponsors, SAP. So people have to ask me, how much time does Ernie spend at the winery? He doesn't actually spend a lot of time here, because being still a full tour professional, playing most weekends, and then when his weekends off, he sponsors like TaylorMade and Boeing and SAP or something. Then they're looking for consumer days, and then he has to play there. So when he has time off, it's quite small. So normally he comes in beginning of December. He comes down to South Africa, and then pops into the winery, says hello, then goes down to the garden route where he has his holiday house at Errol's Bay. And spend most of the time there, and then he would leave like early Jan. He would go back to normally straight to Hawaii, because the first tournaments are in Hawaii in Jan, early Jan. Go straight to Hawaii and start playing there, and then the year gets going, and then we don't see much of it.
So what you're saying is basically, if I come back down early December, and then just buy up all the merch in the shop, and then just hang around for him, he can sign everything then.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying, really?
Well, normally I know when he's coming, I hide the merch away so they don't lose off my my margins that I've made through the years. Anyway, so the next one is this major series 2020. So now the wine is about 4.5 years old, because we make the wines normally February, March. So it's about 4.5 years old now after vintage. Cabernet Sauvignon is our most important variety on the farm. 60% of our production is Cabernet Sauvignon. We fortunately for us, we have quite a few different aspects on the farm, meaning a little bit east facing, north facing, west facing, which is really good. We don't have any south facing slopes, but it's really good to give me different flavor profiles. We have actually 9 different clones of Cabernet on the farm. So what is clones? Clones is that somebody with a white jacket and smoke around him and making little different Cabernet clones in a laboratory. No, it's actually just natural selection over many decades in the vineyards, where viticulture has gone into the vineyard. This is a vine that's naturally mutated, maybe a little bit of a smaller berry, a little bit of a bigger bunch or a looser bunch, and then he would select that, take it to the nursery, and they would propagate that. And through over time, we have in South Africa, we have about 12 different clones of Cabernet. And I always say, if I must explain the clones, it's like apples. You get green apples, red apples, yellow apples. They taste different, but they're all still apples. One is better for juicing, one is better for eating, one is better for cooking. And it's exactly the same with the different clones of Cabernet. The one is more tannic. The one is a little bit more fruit driven, less tannins. The one has got more intense color. And so I would use the different personalities of the different clones within my blend spectrum. So this is actually a blend of actually quite a few different styles of Cabernet that I put together. So it's about, as I always say, it's like a big puzzle. When we've made all the wines, when they lie on the table, you don't actually see the picture. And then you form the picture in your mind, and then you start putting the puzzles together. One vintage, we might have wines that are quite tannic. Then I would actually use more of the clone with less tannins to bring me a little bit more fruit. So the wine is not too hard. Or vintage like 2023, we had a lot of rain. I need more tannins. I need more structure in the wine. Then I'll bring more of the other clone in. So with that, I can actually make sure that the wine that we're making is consistently of a high quality. But like I did say, the nature has the last say. You're not going to totally be able to surpass a really, really poor vintage. But luckily for us in the southern hemisphere, we don't have those poor like summer conditions like they have mostly in Europe, where especially in Bordeaux, where it can rain during harvest. We don't get a lot of rain during harvest, and that gives us a consistent quality over a long period of time. So we will bring the grapes in, do a good ferment. The next time you take a red berry and you press and you let the juice fall on the palm of your hand, you'll see it's white. There actually is no color in the juice. All the color sits in the skin, and all the tannins and all the flavors sit actually in the skins. And that's why we would bring the grape bunches in. We would destalk, as we call them. So we would take the berries off the stalks, because the stalks are green. So you don't want all those green, hard, anything that, if you take a stalk and you chew it, you'll see how like bitter and green it is, and that you don't want to be extracted into the wine. So you got to take the berries off the stalks. We'll put that all that into a tank. We'll crush them lightly, so we can just break and release the juice. And then we will start the extraction process from the skins. And anything that you heat up becomes much more soluble, and that's why we actually ferment at about 25 to 28 degrees Celsius. So you can actually make the color pigments more soluble, and we can extract the tannins and the color, and that takes place for about 2 to 3 weeks to do the fermentation.
Okay.
Yeah. So after the 2 to 3 weeks, we would press the skins, and we will take the juice off the skins, and then we'll put them into oak barrels. So in South Africa, we actually can't use oak that's grown in South Africa, because our climate is too warm, and the year rings actually too far apart, and the wood is actually will be quite porous. So we need to all the barrels that we use in the maturation process comes mostly from France, a little bit from the US as well, American oak as we call it. Trees, a tree needs to be about 150 years old before you can harvest it.
Wow.
To be able to
really?
make it.
Wow.
Exactly. So
Okay.
as generations are older tree, and you can actually only use about 30% of the tree, because there's got to be a perfect piece of wood. You can't have any splits, you can't have any knots or anything, because then the wine will just leak straight up. But lucky enough, they can use the oak for many other products, so that it doesn't get wasted for sure. Use it for flooring or for furniture and things like that. But lucky enough, for us, the French planted large oak forests to build their cities. And then lucky enough for us, along came steel and stainless steel and mortar and bricks, and all those forests were planted, and now they're still very much under the management of the French government, and they've got a beautiful rejuvenation program where they would fell trees and replant trees, and actually they managed it really well, so that we can all have around the world have great French oak to mature the barrels. So you got to ask the question, why do we use oak barrels to red wine? So that the wood is the only obviously natural element of properties that it can actually let oxygen through the staves into the wine. So what happens when we fill the barrel? It's a liquid inside, and then it stands in the barrel room with the humidity of about 75%. So what the wine wants to move through the staves into the atmosphere to create an equilibrium, because that's what it will try and do through diffusion through the staves. By moving through the staves, it's actually creating vacuum inside the barrel, and actually sucks in oxygen through the staves, and that polymerizes with the tannins. And that's what the wine actually becomes softer and drinkable, because Cabernet is a variety probably with the most amount of tannins. So you actually need to give it oxygen. And, I always say oxygen is life. What you're giving this wine, slowly you are dosing oxygen into this wine. And the wine is polymerizing, the tannins are becoming softer and developing. But you don't want to make it go too far. So we only spend about 18 months in French oak barrels, as a 300-liter barrel. And then we would take them out the barrels, and then we would blend them, fine them up, clean them up, and then we put them into bottle. And then we would normally age them for about a year and a half in the bottle, so that we can get lovely integration of the tannins, and then obviously go around the world to showcase the wine. So wine is quite a timely process, because if I can take you from the start, when you plant a vineyard, Takes 3 years before you get your first production, and then you spend another 2 years in the barrel, so that's 5 years later, and then you spend another year and a half, depends on what your 2 years in the bottle maturation, so that's 7 years. Then, so if I plant a vineyard now, which is 2020, 2024, which I am going to do, so the first time that you will see this wine will be 2032, when you will have this
Really?
wine on
Wow.
your table. So and that's the process, and you can't, and like I said, you can't speed it up. You only get one summer per year. You only get
Yeah.
one spring per year, so it's got to go through those cycles. You can't double the speed and think you're going to have two growth patterns within 1 year. There's only one cycle per year. It's a growing cycle. Then it goes into autumn, drops its leaves. Then into winter, prune it back. And you go into spring. Then the summer growth comes again. Then you harvest that once a year during February and March, and then you wait the next year. So it takes me 7 to 8 years from when I've planted a vineyard before you actually can enjoy the wine as you're sitting there now. So for me, it's every time a little miracle when we get to this time where we can just sit and enjoy the great work that we do.
Absolutely. I had to just a little bit self-indulgent, maybe, I don't know, but I just had to have a big sip there, enjoying it, listening to you talking about the journey of what I was just drinking. I hope we could do this in 2032, but in case we don't,
Okay.
I just had to have that moment. But it is fascinating. It's like you've looked at my notes as well. There's so many things in there that just blow me away. I've got two more questions before I let you go, and thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time. 2020, there's a couple of other questions coming in the chat box as well, which I'll make sure I'll get to you. 2020, COVID, lockdown, this vintage, just did that. I was going to say, did that? I'm sure it did produce kind of a few challenges for you. Just can you give us a bit of an insight into that?
So we went into lockdown. It was about the 10th of March, and that's like right slap bang in the heart of the vintage. So we were told everybody must stay at home, and then we said to the government, but it's impossible. We're working with a natural perishable product. It's a product that's living. We just can't stay at home. In the end, we were given permission to come back to work, and so it was a very, very difficult time. We obviously had minimum staff. In South Africa, we had a lot of embargoes on the sales of alcohol. So we had a lot of prohibition periods, sometimes more than half a year. Even they were banning cigarette sales as well, because they said, the alcohol and cigarettes were instigators for people to get together and enjoy themselves. They wanted to keep everybody apart. But that didn't help much, because it was more under the counter sales of wine and beer and cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are not going to give that up. So it was really a difficult 2 years, 2020 and in 2021. From a sales perspective, our doors were shut, our tasting rooms were weren't open, and it was only the essential services that could operate. So we had to operate with special permits on the roads to travel. So it was a little bit eerie to travel on the roads with absolutely nobody on the roads, but you're on your way to work and you feel, why didn't I find myself a nice office job and I didn't have to go to work for another about 2 or 3 months? But it wasn't that way. It was there was no way that you can sit back and wait, because wine is not like a laptop where you can press obviously exit and tomorrow morning when you press it on again, it's your cursor is still standing there where you left it. Where this cursor that we work with is always moving and changing, and it's a perishable. And people love to think then when you put a cork in a bottle and that's where it ends. No, it's a living product. It's developing, it's changing. It's in the bottle, because it's always those polymerizing, those tannins and the color pigments, and it's changing all the time. So you need to look after it. If you look after the wine and keep it at good temperatures and not in direct sunlight, it can our wines can age easy 15, 20 years after production. So especially the Cabernet Sauvignons that we make on the major series and signature up, can age for very long periods of time.
So that, I mean, I don't know if you can see the questions, but that was one of the questions there. Funnily enough, it was an unbelievable segue. 2015 is everyone's favourite Stellenbosch year. We have a signature series 2015. When do you think it will be great to drink?
That's a good question. Such amazing vintages. My probably one of my top 3 vintages I've made, and like I said, I've made 24 vintages now on the Helderberg Mountains. That one got a 5-star in the platter, which we were really proud of. That's our top accolade we can get from a wine perspective in South Africa, and that wine is still really really beautiful. It's now 9 years old, and it can easily last another 6 years to 2015. But hopefully, they bought 6 bottles and open 1 bottle over the next 6 years. That'll be perfect.
If they haven't, I think they'll be going out and getting a few. Louis, thank you so much. This is honestly, I've got so many more questions, but I've taken up so much of time. As I say, I do have one last one before we go. And if anybody else has got any other questions, please chuck them in the chat. I touched on this before we started recording and tasting. One of the brilliant things for us around Speakeasy is around safe place. Whatever it is, we do a lot of it through sport and the clubhouse, whatever it is, and whatever your version of clubhouse is. So I will ask the big question to you, Louis. Where's your clubhouse?
My clubhouse, and like I said, I'm a really outdoor person. I enjoy working outside, enjoy working with nature. So my clubhouse, we're sitting on the foothills of the Stellenbosch Mountains. As you know yourself, these big mountains behind us. So there's amazing mountain bike tracks that are up in the mountains, and we can like drive out I don't have to get into my car, straight on my bicycle, straight out the front gate into the mountains within 5 minutes, and I can get lost there for hours on my own. So I do spend a lot of time with people all the time, because wine is so very much a social product. So it's funny how my clubhouse is to be a little bit on my own thoughts, my own ideas, alone on a bicycle deep in the mountains around Stellenbosch, which is so easy accessible for myself. So that is where I really find my happy place. I can mull everything through my mind on my own up in the fresh air mountains. That's where I enjoy myself the most.
Yeah, love that, and totally. Louis, cheers. Thank you so much. It's been a genuine honour to meet you and a pleasure, and I've taken away so much from that. Thank you so much to everybody who's joined us as well. Lots of really positive comments and feedback. Thank you. Hope everything goes well with the harvest. I hope we get a bit of a drier period to maybe get out there a little bit. But just once again, thank you so much for your time. Really,
my pleasure. We're going into summer, so we'll love to welcome everybody that's online, that's checked in to come visit us on the slopes of the Helderberg Mountains during our summer months, and you can get away a little bit from the winter months in Europe. So our doors are always open 7 days a week. We're open early morning till late afternoon. Sit and enjoy a lovely glass of rosé. We're a great restaurant on the property as well, focusing around red meat and Cabernet Sauvignon. So like I said, you haven't been to the new winery. You won't believe what we've done here. And it's a great place to come spend a whole full day and listen. So don't book anything in the afternoon and don't book anything in the morning. Come early, leave late. Everybody's welcome.
I'm delighted we're recording this. I'm going to share it with my wife and just say that's what Louis said. We've got to.
Exactly.
So he said, so we've got to do it.
No, so when you're in the winery, just call me, and then we can definitely have a few wines together for sure.
Amazing. That'd be brilliant. Thank you so much. Amazing. Look, best of luck with everything. Thank you so much for your time. And we look forward to enjoying a few wines soon.
Perfect. Enjoy the evening, everybody. Thank you very much. Cheers.